Welcome to Chapter 22, Possessive Endings, Plural Nouns. Turn with me to page 241. At the top of the page is the vocabulary, and I'd like to note a couple items that may be of interest to you. The word morning here is boker, and a common morning greeting in modern Hebrew as well as ancient Hebrew was good morning, boker tov. Boker tov. And the word evening, erev, can also be used in the evening greeting, good evening, erev tov, erev tov. Below the section on idioms, your textbook has a section it calls important idiomatic endings. I've replaced that with pronominal suffixes on ein, hine, and kol. To be honest, I have no clue why they called it important idiomatic endings, and it's not at all what it is. It's just simply pronominal suffixes added to these three words. Now, throughout this chapter, the word endings or pronoun endings is used to describe pronominal suffixes. I'm going to stick with the standard terminology of pronominal suffixes. I think it's easier, it's more specific, and hopefully I'll be consistent in my use of that terminology. So we're looking in this section at pronominal suffixes added to the word ein, which means non-existence of, hine, which means behold or here is, and kol, it's not pronounced call, it's pronounced kol, which means all or the whole. So starting over here on the right are the forms of the pronominal suffixes added to ein, which means non-existence of, often translated there is not. So I am not eineni. You masculine singular are not einecha. You feminine singular are not einech. He or it is not einenu. And notice that the third masculine singular pronominal suffix and the first common plural pronominal suffix both end in enu when added to the word ein. As a result, context has to be used to determine whether it's he or we. It's pretty easy, however, to spot that contextually. In the case of hine, which means here is or behold, for the first common singular, here I am, pronominal suffix, they give you two forms, hineni and hineni, both pronounced basically the same, but you should note that the second form, with the sagol underneath the first noon, occurs only 2 times in the Old Testament, whereas the first form occurs 162 times. There's actually a third form that occurs 14 times, which would have a tsere under this first noon, hineni. So it seems to me that they should have listed that rather than the sagol form, but that's what we've got. Hineni 162 times, hineni 14 times, hineni twice. And then you can see that with the third masculine singular form, the final hey drops off and we get hino. And with the third feminine singular, hina. However, these forms are relatively uncommon, and remembering them is not that crucial. The word all of, or the whole, again pronounced kol. This is a kametz chatuf, and as a kametz chatuf, it's an O-class vowel, which explains why, when you add a pronominal suffix to this form, that O-class vowel shifts to a shurik. Kuli, kulacha, kulach, kulo, kula, kulanu, kulachem, kulam. So those are the forms of ein, hine, and kol with pronominal suffixes. On the next page, page 242, we get a discussion of how ein, hine, and kol are used when they have pronominal suffixes. The first bullet point here at the top of 242 is essentially a reminder of what you've already learned, that the word ein can be used to negate noun sentences or participles. Those are the two uses, the negation of noun sentences or the negation of participles. First example, ein Yaakov bincha, a non-existence of Jacob, your son, literally, but we would translate it, Jacob is not your son. Ein ha'ish ro'eh, the man is not seeing. By the same token, if ein has a pronominal suffix, it can also negate a noun sentence or a participle. And when ein has a pronominal suffix, it replaces, as it says here at the end of this sentence, it generally places the subject when the subject is a pronoun. So, for example, in the sentence, we are your people, anachnu amacha. In order to say we are not your people, we would say einenu amacha. And anachnu is replaced by ein with the first common plural pronominal suffix, einenu. Second bullet notes that sometimes the word ein with pronominal suffixes is used together with a noun. In such case, the word ein with pronominal suffixes usually comes after the noun. So, for example, Yaakov enenu bincha, Jacob is not your son. Ha'ish enenu ro'eh, the man, non-existence of him seeing. So, the point here is that the pronominal suffix on ein actually is redundant with the subject. Jacob, non-existence of him, your son. But this redundancy is not translated in English, and it's not essentially redundant in Hebrew either. Ha'ish einenu ro'eh, the man, non-existence of him, seeing, the man is not seeing. So, the point here is that ein is used to negate noun sentences or participles with or without pronominal suffixes. Moving on down the page, the use of hine with pronominal suffixes. The word hine, as we've said already, means behold or here is, and usually precedes the subject for emphasis with participles. So if a participle is being used and the speaker wants to emphasize the subject of the sentence, they would add hine before the subject. The second sentence here notes that the word hineni can stand alone, meaning here I am. So, hineni omeid lefanecha. Here I am standing in front of you or before you. Hinam ketuvim batorah. Behold, they are written in the Torah. Vayumer hineni. And he said, here I am. The use of kol with pronominal suffixes is to sometimes as a word of emphasis. It can be used as the subject of a sentence, as the object of a verb or a preposition. And it can also be translated as whole. So, how do you know when? Well, you pay attention to context. Kulanu b'nei ish echad. We are all the sons of one man, or literally all of us, sons of or children of one man. Here it is the subject of the sentence. Natati et kulam lamelech. I gave all of them. Here it's the direct object of the sentence. And Ra'inu et hayam kulo. We saw the sea, all of it, or we saw the whole sea. All right, moving on to page 243. we get a discussion of possessive pronoun endings for plural nouns. Now, there's a good bit of text here on this page and on the next, but there are two essential points here that I think I can just type up for you. The first point is that to remind you that nouns with pronominal suffixes are in construct to the pronominal suffix. That's always the way it is. Nouns with pronominal suffixes are in construct to the pronominal suffix. And plural nouns in Hebrew use the masculine plural construct ending to add pronominal suffixes. That's the essential point that the next two pages are teaching you. So with that in mind, let me scroll down through here. Now, the textbook calls this section possessive endings for nouns which end in "eem." Obviously, nouns that end in "eem" are masculine plural nouns. And it says that the addition of the letter yod in each plural possessive ending is the key. Well, here's the thing. As we've already learned, tsere yod is the masculine plural construct ending, and that's what's happening with the pronominal suffixes. They're just the noun plus tsere yod plus the pronominal suffix. Now that does generate some vowel changes, which you can learn, get used to, but in general, the rule is very simple, and I think we see it here most clearly in the plural pronominal suffix forms. Our sons is the word sons plus the pronominal suffix our, new. Benechem, benechen, benehem, benehen. So, masculine plural construct ending plus pronominal suffix. The same thing is happening with the singular pronominal suffixes, only the spelling is altered in several cases. So the way I think of it as you've got bani, the pronominal suffix for the first common singular is a hirik yod. When you add a hirik yod to a tsere yod, what you get is a patach yod, because this may seem a little silly, but it's the way I remember it, that the singular dot of the hirik fills in the space between the two dots of the tsere, and you get a patach. Whether that's helpful to you or not, the point here is that the consistent indicator of a plural noun with a pronominal suffix is that there is a yod prior to the pronominal suffix. And that's true both for masculine plural nouns as well as feminine plural nouns that shows up on the end. So just take a look here at the word daughters, banot, and these feminine plural nouns have a yod prior to the pronominal suffix. So, the fact that they use the masculine plural ending as the way to suffix pronominal suffixes does not make the noun masculine plural. It's just the way Hebrew does it. So, let me go back to the rules, the two rules that I wrote here on page 243. Nouns with pronominal suffixes are in construct to the pronominal suffix, and plural nouns in Hebrew, whether they're masculine or feminine, use the masculine plural construct ending tsere yod to add pronominal suffixes. The key indicator of a plural noun with a pronominal suffix is the presence of a yod prior to the pronominal suffix, or in the case of the first person singular, a patak, yod at the end of the word. Same thing for the feminine plural, benotai, my daughters. And that covers everything that we needed to learn in Chapter 22. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or call me.